Folks, welcome. Just want to bring back creative financing with JB. Another week. This week, we're just going to have some good conversations about what's been going on. Started off this week tremendously, finished a great seminar on wills and estates. And that has to be one of the best things that we did for our community out here through True Home Solutions. We focused on providing the folks with the opportunity to understand how to protect your property, how to be able to pass on that generational wealth, how to go to the next step to gain a positive resolution to what you're doing here. And most of all, folks, we had some great participants that we went in there. As today, I decided it was a time to really sit down, break down what was going on at the seminar, and just ignite some folks to remember that preparation is a continuous process in preparing your properties, maintaining your properties, passing it on to the next step of the your generation, and understand what it is. We had the seminar focus on helping us better understand the purpose of estate planning, wills, protecting your assets. You worked hard to build these things. Folks, I'm going to say that again. You worked hard to build these assets you have. You perform, you go to work every day, you put in the hours, you might even work some overtime during the time, but you take the time each day to perform. So you provide the service, and now your home, your residence, your investment property, your second home is your reward of what you get for doing all that hard labor and stuff. We don't want to take it lightly that, this is what I supposed to have, this is what I supposed to do. But no, understanding that your legacy starts from there. Many people delay these conversations. And today, I want to just go over some facts of why we think that these conversations are delayed. People don't want to talk about death. Death is inevitable. I'm a Christian believer. I believe in all what God has for me. I believe that we all have a purpose here. But at some point in time, we're going to transition, and we have to prepare for that transition. We had this conversation in our seminar. Why put the burden on your loved ones that's going to prepare you a nice homegoing or home celebration service for you and not give all the details of what's going on? The conversation is basic. That's one reason that we have this conversation. The second reason why we have this conversation is making sure you understand what's happening out here and in the world, and when it passes on to the next party of your family, of your generation, passing that down. We don't want to have that conversation about the death. Then we struggle to say, hey, they'll figure it out once I leave. I'll just put a will out there to say, hey, y'all split it evenly. But guess what? When we're going through the grieving process, sometimes our emotions supersede what people should be getting or what they're entitled to. So that's the second conversation. Excuse me. The third conversation that you want to have is, and people deny it, is who's going to be in charge? Since I'm the oldest, you should leave me in charge. I know more than them. This is what it's supposed to be. No, our question is, who is going to be responsible for that making sure my wishes are upheld during this process. Some people might say they want to be cremated versus some people say they might want an open casket and a full funeral and all that stuff. But we have to remember something that stands out here is that those are your wishes. You need somebody to be able to pass those on and do according to how you wanted it planned. So those are three reasons why people sometimes delay those conversations and making that happen. But guess what? We have to do it, folks. We have to continue to focus on the things that are important when we're passing on our estate to the next party, when we pass it on to the kids and stuff. But I want to encourage y'all one thing: have the conversation at least. Let the people know it's not going to be weird. It's not going to be awkward. It's not going to be like, somebody don't want to hear about this. But it's a conversation that they can be well prepared to do, something that they can understand what needs to happen over the term of this. I have to sit down and I told folks last week, one of the things I did with my wife after we got married was we went back and we reviewed our wills. So we prepared our wills for each other to say, hey, how we want this to go when we happen, when we transition, and that it can be less stressful, even though we know we're going to grieve for one another, each other. But what is a less stressful way to get this done and to make it comfortable for the rest of the family? And we can have a decent time as we celebrate the last time we see each other. And we broke it down. Is it a heartfelt conversation? It is. But what's important to all of this? What matters the most is your legacy. Your legacy. What happens in between that birth date and that end date is the dash, is the most important. That's your legacy. That's what you have done over the time. That's what your achievements have to be and has to pass on to the next generation, that they can see and they can get it to the next step. Folks, I want to tell you that even though it might be, it don't seem like much, I want to say, everything you do matters. Even how little it might not seem like a whole lot, but every little bit matters. If you perform and provide for your children to get them out of high school and you worked hard, you worked overtime, you put in that 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years at that job, that's part of your legacy. You are a complete worker. You perform the tasks that was at hand in a timely manner to get what you needed to get accomplished. If you once you retire, if you did anything for, say, the church, community service, helping folks out here in the community, that's part of your legacy. If you started to have some type of family entertainment, like family reunions, family gatherings during a certain time, 4th of July barbecues, those are all part of your legacy, where we look back and we say that was important and I'm building that so that can be passed on to the next generation. Something that really astounded me was that when I looked at a friend down in Louisiana, she passed on that Sunday before Thanksgiving. Her mother used to cook for the community for Thanksgiving. That was a wonderful tribute that they passed on to one another. That was an opportunity for them to go and, celebrate, give back to the community. She got donations, and we had a great time. We had singers coming, but she kept that going. And it became a newspaper article. People donated for it, but that's part of the legacy of the family. That's why we have this estate planning and wills and stuff. And why everyone needs a will is a key. Why do you think you need a will? What's important about that will? Why would somebody take the time to write down where they want their rings, their home, their coats, their clothes, their belongings to go in there? Because you want to leave something to somebody that is sentimental in value. You want to leave something that means a whole lot to the folks out there that you really care about. And you want to know that they're going to get it. A lot of people said that they'll do a lot of things, and we know today's time that a lot of folks don't stand up to that. They don't do it. They don't continue to uphold to what they say they're going to do. So by having a will, puts it on paper, puts it in practice, and keep it moving forward. As DJ Cox that attended, he made the presentation that you can, after you have it signed, notarized, executed, they have it where you can hold it at Kent County and all three counties, your will, for it, and have it stored so it don't get lost. How many folks have known that in a time frame that they couldn't find a will upon somebody's death? You should have a safe deposit box. But if you don't have a safe deposit box, each county, Newcastle County, Kent County, and Sussex County have where you can take your executed will, have it stored. It's a minimal fee for it to be there until in transition. So when it comes time and they need to execute it at the end when you transition, then they can go out there and find it and do according to what it says. DJ Cox talked about understanding the probate process, and they have a new law that they're trying to increase the limits from 30,000 to 50,000 for it, so which is reasonable now. What I took from that was that our cars now is over $30,000. A basic car that we try to afford is over that amount of money. And we need to make sure that, we get and we utilize it as in the best way possible when we want to hand it down. So you got to open up probate. Folks, do it cost money? It does cost money, but that's money that should be saved and put aside to it for it. We have a lot of resources available in Delaware. As far as people that help with those wills and estates, as Jim Kern and Kathy Johnson from the law firm of James Kern talked about the cost for a will trust, all that stuff, and it was decent prices, power of attorney. Those were reasonable fun prices that they had for that. And ensuring, and this all happens because we are ensuring your wishes are honored. What do we mean our wishes are honored? It means that whatever we want to happen. If my wife tell me she don't want a ceremony, she don't want an open casket, I want to honor that wish and not have that. Regardless who else might think that she should, it is her wishes at her transition time. Avoid common estate planning mistakes. People must say, how can you avoid it? It's in the will, it's all documented. We must keep our wills and documents updated each year, because you might have people in the will that might transition prior to you. So you have to update that information. You might have gained more investment properties. You might gain some more jewelry. You have anything, another car. You don't have that same car anymore. So guess what? You have to make sure that you update that in your will so the folks know what's happening with it, who you want to leave it to, and where you want it to go. Folks, if you have any questions and you want to just recollect on what happened, you can give me a call. I want to sit down. I want to pass on the resources to you for that. Hey, Keisha, what's going on and protecting your assets. We want to talk about your home now. Your home is a vital part of your assets that you have right now. It's something that is so important that you want to protect it. Who do you want to have it? Who do you want them to sell it at the time of death? Do you want them to go ahead and hold on to it for your grandchildren? And your will outline all those prominent informations for you to get it done. If that home has a reverse mortgage, what happens? Who's going to pay for it? How are we going to maintain that house? Those are key questions that you have prior going to through all of this, and it's so important to have those conversations. We know that all family might not agree. We know that some folks might focus on what they think should happen or how it should go, but it's that person that is deceased wishes of how you handle their property. And folks, do it according to what you want, what they asking. Miss Kathy made a good point, that she had a situation where somebody had to make a decision to do cremation, and they could not pull the trigger. They could not tell them to go ahead and cremate that person, and she was next in line to say, hey, yeah, we can move forward and do this, because they felt that that was a big step and a big responsibility for them to do it. Have people in place that you can trust to do it. That's what a key component too. You can say that I'm the oldest, but if somebody can't honor the wishes of that will, of how you want to have your services and everything, we have to have somebody in line next that's able to do that. And guess what? Make sure that we hold them accountable. If they can't do it, make sure we have a backup of somebody that can do it. Start doing pre-planning with your funeral homes and stuff. And folks, something big. Make sure you have insurance. Insurance is very necessary. Not unless you paid for your plot and all that stuff prior to that, but make sure you have insurance for this transitional period, so people won't have to go to the GoFundMe and we doing all kind of fish fries and all type of fundraisers just to have somebody to have a decent ceremony when they transition here. And this was a big issue with some families in the past where they had to do GoFundMe's because we didn't plan. We took it for granted that that person is going to be around for a long time, and they got a home and all that stuff, so they doing well off. But we never know what happens during that stretch. So make sure we have some type of insurance in place and know where it's at. So when we making sure that the people can have that homegoing service or that celebration service for you in a decent manner. But your home is your legacy. Your home is what you're leaving behind for that next generation. Why would we leave it? Why would we leave it behind? Folks, we got student loans out here that's astronomical right now. We have so many kids going through college and incurring this debt during college to make it through so they can have a decent job out here. And guess what? One less bill they can think about is if they have that home that's clean and free that they can pass on and live there and work so they can establish themselves so the next generation don't have to worry about that debt and incur some debt with that. Debt can be added to your estate if that deceased person had not paid it. So you have to keep that in mind too. So if I'm deceased and I have some student loan debt or credit card debt and stuff, when you open the estate, as the attorneys was talking about it, all those claims will be filed against that. And guess what? If you have real property, You're going to sell it and the money's going to come out of there for that. So you have to be mindful of having that estate clear and all your debts kind of paid up as well. I want to read this quick section that we had. It said, legacy is more than wealth or property. It's the impact you leave on your family and community, your values, lessons, and life stories, the way you provide and protect for your loved ones. Planning ensures your legacy is honored the way you intended. When you hear the word legacy, many people immediately think about money or assets. But legacy is much more than that. It is the impact you leave behind. It's your values, your love, your attendance, and how you prepare your family for the future. Estate planning is about making sure that everything you work for and everything you stand for is passed on the way you intended. That's legacy, folks. That's what it is. That's the breakdown of it. How many people go around and can say, hey, this is my grandfather's church. This is my father's property. This is what my mother did in the community for it and all that. We have to remember those things of what our parents did. How many of y'all that's listening can think of something that your parents did that today you still do it and it's meaningful to you? It means something to you. It's value to you. For how many people taking the step to protect their grandmother's home if they left them a home, or their father and mother's property, or their great grandparents' property? Folks, it's so important for that. But I want to keep y'all in tune to one thing, that this legacy that you have is more than just wealth and property. It's the meaning behind why something was did. If you go back and look in history a little bit, we look at some of the stuff that we have in Delaware. And I used to be a member of the Monday Club, and I had to understand that's a legacy that's left behind that's going to go on for years and years and years. Why is it so important, Johnny? The Monday Club was a club that where the slaves, after they finished working hard all weekend and stuff, they used to meet on Mondays to have a meal together and a drink. That is a legacy for our ancestors that have left us to keep it going. So what do we do when we go down there on Monday? We have a meal and we can have a drink and we can reminisce on some of the things that happened during that time. How important is your legacy to you is another question. What does it mean? Why does it happen? Why do people pass this stuff on and just think that instead of you can just start name calling? Oh, that's such and so cousin of mine and my second cousin. No, it's more of taking that time to honor the people's wishes and give them what they need to happen more and more. Property. How many folks know that leaving property is a sign that you really want to pass on how hard life was? The house might not be great that they left you. It might need reconditioning. It might need a total gut job and stuff. Do not just sell it to that wholesaler. Do not just put it on the market to sell. Understand that as a family and your legacy, how important was that property to you? Without a plan, your legacy is left in the hands of the courts. What do we mean? The court's going to make the decision what happens. We don't have a will. We don't know the intention of the person. So that property that you had, the court's going to make a decision, well, we're going to sell that and we're going to pay off XYZ debts. And then whatever's left over, that's what the family's going to get. Your grandparents could have lived in there for 40, 50 years. Do you think that's what their intentions was? Do you think that's what they meant to happen when all this ended? No. They wanted to make sure that house was passed down because that was probably was a time where they were the first homeowners of their generation, and they held on for the long term. They held on so folks can be able to have some place to stay, where we didn't have to struggle to be out in the street and homeless and stuff like that. But we can't go and just start selling our ancestors' property just because we need a couple of dollars here and there. We have to really think and value what's happening. Proper planning reduces stress and confusion. Folks, we want to be at a point where we're not confused on what was supposed to happen or how much this needs. We want to have that ability to be stress free and understand and say, hey, my grandmother wanted this to happen, and this is how I know. It's through my will. It's outlined there, black and white. You can't change the writing and go from there. Folks, if a change was made to your will, please make sure it's updated. As I mentioned before, you can keep it at the recorder, the register of wills in a lockbox safe with key under a key. So you know that nobody else will be able to access it until something has happened or until they have to open your estate or do something to that magnitude after you have transitioned forward. Don't leave it in the hands of the courts. Don't leave it to where we foreclose it on property and stuff to where, they taking it and next thing you know, you see that thing and you're crying because they done rehabbed it and they done a remarkable job because our family didn't take the necessary time to plan to do this stuff. This helps prevent family disputes. How many folks know that anytime somebody get married or somebody dies, it's usually a little dispute there of how things supposed to be portrayed, how things supposed to be run, what was the intention for this or that. It's always, most of the time, a dispute. I don't want to say always because always means that it's nothing ever different, but it's a highly great chance that it's going to be a dispute there if we don't have it there. Because some people had different conversations with their loved ones that passed away. How many times have you seen that somebody come back at a funeral or at a wedding time and say, hey, when we were planning X, Y, and Z was supposed to happen, but this didn't happen because this is what they wanted to do. And, guess what? But I'm not going to talk about it right now. Mm-mm. Those conversations can be put on paper through a will for it and stuff. Anybody out there that has property that they're dealing with issues on it and it might need rehab and might need to get some money, give me a call. As you see my number going across the bottom of the screen, 302-312-9860. Let's see how we can get your property back in good hands. Let's make sure that we can find monies to get it to be restored, that we don't have to sell it, that we don't have to see it on a sheriff's sale list or whatever. Let's figure out a way we can have a conversation to save it. And let's talk about the legacy, because it might lead to where on that block there, people know that's grandma's house and that's where they can go get a good plate during Thanksgiving or Christmas, or Miss Pearline, she did X, Y, and Z here, and we want to make sure that we still honor this house and this facility. Those things are important for it, so we got to have that. Yeah, it's great information here, man, but the most important thing is getting people to think through it, understand it, get them to know what it really means. Why do we struggle with that? We talked about the Todd bill, where now deed on death, you can pass it over on your sick bed for it. and go from there. That is so, so important. And we want to make sure that it happens. But folks, give me a call for 302-312-9860. Let's have a conversation about what's going on. Let's see that our family have clear and concise wishes and dreams, what happens after, and they legally protected. Give yourself peace of mind for it. We can talk about, and True Home Solutions going to focus on other educational opportunities where we bring in insurance policies we're going to have. We're going to find out the difference between life insurance and funeral home when they have an insurance policy, which is two different things. And when I sit in on it, shout out to Family First. I sat out on one of their seminars and I learned so much from that. I learned that when they set up a 3-year plan to pay for your funeral, has nothing to do with your well-being. And we don't know these things because we're thinking that if we used to smoke before, nobody's going to give me insurance and stuff. No. Are you going to get insurance you pass on? No. You're going to get enough insurance so you can have a decent homegoing service. And if you pay for it for those, I think it's 3 years, but we'll get Family First, Miss Ty out here, and we'll set up a program to where she can talk about that. We can have that conversation of how we can make this affordable. What happens to our kids at this point? What happens to their legacy as we transition? How do they keep that legacy going? Yeah, and we are talking about final expenses. Final expenses are huge right now. Final expenses gives us a decency to have a decent service for us while we're going through this. But if we have the will, if we take the time now to have that conversation and go through that process, it makes more sense. Some people say, well, my house is my funeral expense. What does that mean? What does that mean when you say your house is your funeral expense? Do that mean that you're hoping that when somebody sells your home prior to them having your service, that can take 30 days. That could take 45 days. It depends, because as our real estate professionals, they have to take some time out and analyze the house to see what the house can sell for. Make sure nothing needs to be done to the house for it to sell, and seeing if somebody's really in the market of buying it. Folks, we're in a tough market right now with people buying homes and the economy with the war and everything. And, we don't have a lot of programs that we used to have to help our first-time home buyers and people buying homes. So sometimes it's more of a struggle. So when you say my house is my funeral, or, use my house as collateral and stuff, we don't have to do that anymore. We can go up and set up this plan, make this payment, and pass that house on down in a part of passing on a legacy for it. And that is so important. So we can do that and go from there. I want to make another note here. Folks, if your parents are thinking about reverse mortgages and stuff, give me a call. I want to talk to y'all about that personally. 302-312-9860. Reverse mortgages are good and bad. And we talked about that at this seminar as well. It's a good form to enhance our seniors or somebody that owns a home at that senior state, at their golden years, we want to call it, in life, to be able to live. But children, if you don't want that reverse mortgage, assist the parents, assist the grandparents, assist whoever's in it, a great aunt or whatever, so they don't have to do that, and you can protect that home. That gives them an opportunity. If you know that they're going through with their medication, basic living, food, groceries, doctor bills, all those things, and they don't have enough money to cover that stuff. Hey, say, hey, I will cover you for this so you won't do that reverse, but we need to have a conversation about the will. We need to talk about the will of how we're going to leave that property, what we're going to do in that property, what that property's going to be used for once you transition. But if nobody's willing to step up and do that, then we have a problem with that. The problem is that they need the money to live. They need the money just to have basic living, because we all don't have great retirement plans, Social Security and stuff. And our economy is so high that our only asset might be that home. And that home that we have is going to be valued to us to where we take out some of that money to be able to just live until we transition. But reverse mortgages is not bad because we have to let our folks know that we passing it down to, if we're passing it down, that, hey, you got to keep your credit right. You got to be credit worthy to take over that mortgage after that reverse mortgage comes into play. We have to have all that in place, no ifs, ands, buts about it. And when we have it in play, that's a great resource to have right there, for it. And make sure that we put it as it is needed. Don't think that just because of reverse mortgage, a bank is taking your property. It doesn't work like that. You have time limits in there for that reverse mortgage. And guess what? That those time limits allow you the opportunity to be prepared to pay the bank back because they gave your loved one the equity they needed to survive during that time here, and they want to be reimbursed for what they did. If you can't do it, the bank will go ahead and take over the home, because they want the family not to. They don't want to take the home for the family, but they want to make sure that the family's able, that family members able to live during that time, and they provide a service for them for it. If y'all have any questions on that, give me a call, 302-312-9860. We just need to have a conversation, but have a conversation with your loved ones too. When we have in this summer, as we come in this summer months, and we have those barbecues and stuff, start having those friendly reminders and conversations about what we can do to make sure that we're planning for our future. You're sitting at that home you have that wonderful barbecue with and all that stuff. Guess what? Talk about it. Hey, on Helen, how are we gonna manage this once we go? What's your plan for this? And go from there. And, it might seem like it's a little touchy, but you want to let them know that, hey, we're only having this conversation. So down the line, when we get further down, we know what you expect to happen. We know what you want to happen. And guess what? We want to make it happen according to what you have planned. Anything else is unacceptable. Why wouldn't we have the conversation? Why wouldn't we ask those questions from our loved ones about what their future plans is? Why do we ignore those questions? Why do it seem like it's debatable about we're planning and thinking that somebody got one foot in the grave? That's not what this is. This is an opportunity to be able to go out and talk about transitioning our family values and assets and our legacy. It might not be much, but everybody has something that they can pass along to them. So we talked about that, but I just want to let you know about some of the folks that we had. We had DJ Cox there. Shout out to DJ Cox. He brought Ramona Bracey as well. That's going for our register um, recorder of deeds. We'll talk to Ramona more online with it to look at her vision for that recorder of deeds position that we're claiming it for her now. But DJ Cox, Kent County Register of Wills, takes the time to oversee the probate process in Kent County. If y'all in need of having a conversation, or y'all have a group of folks that want to have that conversation to talk about the register of wills and what they do and how they can be a beneficial and stuff, give me a call. We'll set up a time and a place within your community if possible, so DJ Cox can bring his PowerPoint presentation. So he can explain the functions. He can explain what he's doing there. I mean, he's made some great progress during his time in office right there at the Kent County Register of Wills and stuff, where we talking about we have a place to store our wills and have them protected. For it. We have resources that they provide, a list of attorneys if you need to find one. And provides you some folks there. They have some legal an attorney on staff there that probably can help you out and give you some guidance. We welcome him for what he's doing out here in the community and CISO property in our Sussex County, as well Register of Wills. The folks, those people are in position to help us to maneuver during this time and to plan accordingly for our loved ones. Don't hesitate to reach out, but give me a call if it's someplace in your community you think that this information is going to be beneficial, so we can pass it on and make sure that folks know how the process works. We want to educate. True Home Solutions is educating, providing valuable, detailed information that's going to go a long ways. And what does that long ways mean? To just give you informed knowledge and decisions of what you want to do, how you want to do it, and when you want to do it. And these folks and these resources and folks that we have in place, it makes it all more easier to have those conversations. I'm going to say this: we sit out, we vote for folks, we go through this process of having elections, the people go in office, but we never get to see what they do or what they have. This is an opportunity that I like to hold people accountable, and a level of accountability of what they're doing out there, why they doing it, what's happening, how can you tell our community about it, and what can we do to embrace it. For it. And like I told them, this is not going to be the last discussion we're going to have on wills, estates, and trusts. We plan to have more. Sometime we're going to do it online via Zoom because some people can't get out, and that's understandable. But it's important to everyone that has real property or any type of assets of what they're going to do for it and stuff. How they're going to maneuver during that time. And folks, I'm going to repeat this over and over again. Please protect your assets. Get you a safe deposit box. Use the register of wills to store your will and stuff. Find an attorney to store your wills. Kathy Johnson came through, and very astounded at her. She did a wonderful job presenting to us an experience in wills, trust, and estate planning. Helps individuals and families protect their assets. We need to know that somebody's there to protect our assets. They not only do the will, but they do the durable power of attorney and the living will. It's a 3-step package. That it's reasonable fees for that. Do not let price be an issue for that, as we need to talk and work through that to get that going. But give me a call if you have any questions about it. 302-312-9860. We need to have that. Somebody said a living will. A living will is a directive for if you're alive and somebody become incapacitated. How do we want to have it? The durable power of attorney lets you handle their bills and make sure their bills and stuff is paid so they don't be homeless during this process. Those conversations are so important. That's why we had Kathy and Jim. He alluded to it a little bit as he talked about it and made it known that we into building legal strategies. We don't want to take an easy way out and say whatever they're going to do with it, they can do with it. No, you worked hard for this. We have legal professionals that want to assist you with this. Reach out so we can put you in contact with them for it and that we can start planning. Our good friend Jim Kern talked about those trusts. Everybody wants a trust. Everybody wants to say, hey, I'm putting my house in the trust. This is how I want to do my house. Jim had so much valuable information about a trust that some folks had to really decipher how they want to do it. They was having trouble with the will, where Kathy told you, be specific. Tell the people what you want and what you expect and put it in writing with the witness's signature. They're there to help you with those details. Don't feel ashamed that you might see something and say, that's crazy. I don't know if I want to do that. You want to do it. You want to continue to do what you feel is necessary during this time period. And guess what? Make it a peaceful and enjoyable time. Kathy talked about the decision she had to make for her father. Her brother couldn't make the decision. She was the next in line. And she told me, he wants to be cremated. Cremate him. Even though her brother couldn't do it, that was his will. That was her dad's will. And she was able to uphold it. Some people might have disagreed because they wanted different things. And, people have their emotions caught up when they're grieving. And, friends and family wants to take that final viewing. But that's what her dad expected. And she was able to do it. Her dad's probably honored that he had someone of that power to do that. And guess what? Make sure that is done decently and in order. Folks, it's not always easy to make these decisions. In leadership, it's never easy to make decisions. And we have to consider how we're going to make that decision and how we're going to make it happen. Do not hesitate to give me a call so we can connect you with these folks during this time period and discuss that with the legal professionals. I am not an attorney. I don't pretend to be an attorney. I don't pretend to practice law. I am here to provide you with the resources that's able to guide you through that next step and to make it happen. Will y'all just take the time to utilize the resource? Understand that the resource is going to be for the betterment of your loved ones and for you as well. Don't try to figure it out by yourself, because sometimes we run into obstacles that need to be addressed. And how do we do it? But the key takeaway from our conversation tonight is estate planning is essential. Having that trust is essential. Can you put your home in a trust? Yes, you can. Can I have the trustees? You got to know who you want the trustees to be. You got to make sure they're in place for it. What happens when the trustee passes away that you have the trust for already? All those topics were so essential to our conversation on Saturday, to where, it was like, wow, we really have to do this, and we have to do it again. Thanks. Shout out to Kathy and Jim again for their dedication and performance in this measure, to making sure that the folks had time to understand. They even stayed afterward to have that conversation. for that. And folks, I want to in this part, we're talking about these reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgages is becoming more and more prevalent right now. They are so important right now that people don't even understand why they're like that. People are struggling to pay their bills. They're struggling to make a difference out here. They're struggling to make sure that everything works out, for them so they can at least be able to just have a decent form of living, some TV, a little TV, some food on a table, just to go watch a movie once in a while, to go bowling. All of those are essential to making sure that we do the things that's necessary. And guess what? Get it going. Making it happen for them during their golden years. We don't have pensions no more like we used to. We don't have these big retirement plans that used to exist out here. So folks have to look at the best next step to get this going. And what is that? Is making sure we have the ability to go forth and deliver on our goods. And my home might be that good. My home might be that asset that I need because it's no other way to provide for myself. Co-payments is $100, $200. And what do? We said we don't take the medicine. Well, we just, we don't want to take the medicine, but at the time we need to take the medicine so we can start healing our body and get to a natural cause of what we're doing. But people call me every day about reverse mortgages. Johnny, I'm considering a reverse mortgage. Um, Tell me what you think about it. I said, where's your family at? Let's have a conversation. Let's see why we need to do this. Let's see why this is happening, why this is so important to you. What's making you even consider this? And people say, I can't afford it no more. I went in the grocery store and I had to spend some of my money just to get just to um buy some groceries, just so I can eat, just so I can be able to live and go from that. And another bill might not get paid. Their light bill is struggling on it. They're going to nonprofits, Catholic charities, looking for money to pay those bills and stuff. But guess what? They need the opportunity to go forth and live peacefully. What would you do if it's your home? You needed money. I don't want to beg and borrow and ask people for money. What I want to do is make sure that I provide standard living within the house. I'm not asking for a lot, but I paid for this house for years. I have tons of equity. If I leave tomorrow and, I didn't enjoy my life, that's on me, but I'm going to make that next move. I tell people when we're doing and talking about reverse mortgages, hey, let's all get on a Zoom or let me come over and we all sit down and we have that discussion. Because maybe we can work it out before we get to that reverse mortgage scenario, and that the family won't get upset in the end. Because if one family member is struggling with credit and finances and it comes down to that reverse mortgage, then we have a whole different issue now because they're not going to be able to take over that loan. They're not going to be able to do it. That is the conversation for it. Reverse mortgages provide stability for families. It gives them what they need for everyday living. I had to look at somebody and say, man, the co-payment for my medicine is almost $300. What happens? What do they do? How do they go forth and continue to live and need the medicine until they can get better? It might be a temporary prescription that you need. What happens when they can't pay their light bill because they don't have enough money, and Delmarva, as we have seen, increased, and all these different electric companies, the prices have increased tremendously. What happens there? Think about those steps that we had to take to make that happen. And guess what? Be okay with it. Be able to work through it and get it done. And most of all, you know, it's a plus for us. It's a major, major plus. So, families, I want to tell you this. Don't look at reverse mortgage as bad for your loved ones that's trying to provide. It's a bad thing when they didn't give you an opportunity to understand their situation, to understand their financial difficulty. What do they do? They don't want to come and seem like they're begging you for money and stuff, for money and items, and they can't do nothing else. No, don't blame them because they're struggling. Our economy is increasing time and time again. We're struggling to do things that were so. It was outstanding. It was. I mean, it was. It wasn't like this before. We had dollar stores that had real dollar values to it. Now we had $1.25 store. Now they have stuff $3, $4, $5 in the dollar store. So what then happened is it then changed so much that we can't survive on the basic living. If you have someone elderly in your family or something, see how they're doing with a financial situation, because that home is probably their only asset that's going to help them get it through to the next step. We can't force them to struggle knowing that they got $300,000-$400,000 worth of equity in here and not know nothing. It's not worth it. None whatsoever. And when we go through it, we have to understand, say, hey, it was a lot. It was something that needed to be done. Reverse mortgages is not bad, but it needs to have a conversation. People think that they are banks just taking a home and stuff. No, people's trying to live. People need the funds to live, to make it through to the next step. And how else are they going to do it? But folks, give me a call so we can talk about it. 302-312-9860. We have to have that conversation so we don't feel like it's a problem when it's happening, and go from that whole standpoint. Folks, we are so honored and we so thankful that we're able to have this conversation with you, and to get you to go to the next step of it. It is very, very important for that to happen. And once it happens, it becomes a reality. And that reality really stands out. It makes a huge difference. And making that huge difference, it makes sense. It makes sense. Folks, I'm so thankful that we have that opportunity to have those conversations. I want you to reach out to me. Let's have those conversations about what True Home Solutions is doing, what training we having, what development we going to do to help our community as we go through this struggle. We are in a serious time in our economy, and we need to think, how are we going to make this work for us and be beneficial out here? I enjoy helping the folks out here. We're going to participate next month with our veterans as we talk about veteran housing and resources and benefits. True Home Solutions is out here really building up and lifting up the community to feel that they're able to make the difference here and get it going. This is Creative Financing with JB, folks. Another wonderful show. We thank y'all for tuning in. Reach out, ask your questions. Let me know about any resources you need so we can go through them and figure out how we can solve all the issues that we have. Until next week, see you next week, and we'll keep moving forward and doing the best we can. You have a great evening. Good night.